Mic, mic check, mic check, mic check. Oops, one more thing. Ready? Ready to do this. Okay. Hey, what's up? My name is Parrish Lewis, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time coming to my site, welcome. And if you're returning from my first episode, welcome back. I'm glad you came back for this one. The first one was a little rough, but I worked out some kinks. And I appreciate you coming back to check me out, to see how much I've learned and grew from episode 1. And what episode 1 has taught me is kind of follow some type of stricter guidelines or process to make sure I land my story correctly. And if you checked out the first episode, the big message that I really wanted to bring in there was about staying consistent. I left you off with the thing about keep shooting. And that was just a way for those looking to, really kind of get into this game of photography or anything that you do in life. The idea of it all is to do it every day. Stay consistent. That's the best way the best and the only way that you're going to get good at anything is that you're going to be bad at first. And my first episode probably wasn't the best, but I got quite a few views, and I appreciate those that did tune in and watch the whole thing to the end. Thank you for that. It means a lot, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you. I really appreciate you, checking your boy out. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you've been caught off guard? Like completely caught off guard? Where you got to figure things out on the spot? Yeah. That's happened to your boy. I want to share with you 2 stories today that taught me some very valuable lessons and how I can be more prepared and always having the mindset to stay ready so I ain't got to get ready. So I'm always adding to what I'm calling my toolbox. Now, when I say toolbox, I'm not just referring to the camera kit. Nah, I'm talking about your skills, your habits, and your mindset that you develop over time so that you can be ready for any situation that life throws your way. Let me tell you how I learned a lesson the hard way. My first story that I'm going to start off with is titled, The NBA All-Star Party and My Broken Camera. Ooh. So check it out. Years ago, I was hired to shoot the NBA All-Star Weekend in Denver, Colorado. Made sure I had my bag packed with all of, at that time, my essentials. I had a camera, a lens, flash, memory card. I get to the event, and I, go to my client, check in with my client, let them know that I'm good and I'm ready to go. And, I started to go get my camera and everything together. I get my camera together and I notice that the camera isn't turning on. Something is going wrong with this camera. Took out the batteries, put the batteries back in. Still, the camera is just not working. So I thought I can do like a hard reset. I took out the battery for a little longer, did the 20 count, tried to make sure the battery was charged, and then put it back in the camera, switched it back on. Zilch. My heart dropped in my stomach. I mean, I took this long drive out with one camera and my heart dropped in my stomach. I tried to think of everything. So eventually I went to my client. I was like, yo, my camera stopped working. He looks at me and he goes, damn. I'm sorry that happened to you. You'll still be able to do the job, right? Now, you can imagine at that time, all kind of feelings was running through me. I didn't know what to do, but I had to figure something out quick. So what I do remember is that when I got there was a lot of photographers outside. So my first initial thought was to see if I can rent somebody's equipment. I'm like, nah, it's not going to work. Then I figured, how about if I go hire a photographer to shoot the event for me? and I could just kind of be there and kind of go back and forth. Long story short, that's what I decided to do. Make my route, go outside, find a photographer. Yo, you want to shoot this event? I was supposed to shoot it. My camera's not working. The photographer felt me. They're like, all of the energy. I got the love. They understood. The guy felt the connection. And I said, how much you going to charge me to shoot this event? And he's like, well, shit, probably charge you about, $1,500 to $2,000. I'm like, wow, $1,500, $2,000. I only charged my client $800 to shoot the event. I thought I can go out there, get the exposure, shoot this event, let everybody know I shot the NBA All-Star official party, and that was going to be my portfolio piece that I can do it. So the money wasn't a big thing for me. It was the exposure that I was sold on to kind of like do that job. And long story short, it didn't work out in my favor. So I ended up having to pay extra. So I had to pay out of pocket more than what I expected to pay for this job. And that kind of triggered something else for me. It's like, man, P, you got to really think about your pricing. You got to go back to the drawing board. This guy charged you this price. How did he get to those numbers? And it was just so much that I wasn't ready for and didn't understand at that time. But now it's my life lesson, and it's how I kind of like go about doing business. So in that story, I want you to see a couple things. One is that I wasn't ready or prepared for this level of opportunity that presented itself. I could have been if I knew what I needed. I needed to have an extra camera. I need to have additional lenses, additional flash, more batteries, memory cards. You get it. I needed to have a backup kit for the main kit for when if and when the situation ever happens again. And at that moment, I wasn't thinking toolbox, but I knew I had to have something or some type of kit with me to be able to make sure that I was prepared every time I got a job like this, because I didn't want to get caught off guard. That project could have cost me my reputation, but it did cost me my relationship with the client. I don't think I heard from dude since I did that job. But it also cost me a few other things. My confidence, right? Because now I don't know how to be in certain situations like that. And it almost cost my reputation. But I learned from it. In the end, I learned from it. After that, I started adding new tools to my toolbox. An extra camera, flash, memory card. You get the picture. You get the picture. Just making sure that I'm well equipped for the next time some situations like this happen. But that wasn't the only time I learned that lesson. Let me tell you another story. Let me tell you a story that when me and my wife at the time, my girlfriend, were out, and she had me I wanted to kind of put something in place for us. I believe we was out at some type of event. I remember not being prepared. More than anything, before I remember what happened, what was going on during that time, the biggest thing that I remember was not being prepared. And at that time, I didn't know that I wasn't prepared until she said to me, piss poor planning leads to piss poor results. Now imagine that being said to you by your wife. Man, you're talking about so many emotions at that particular moment. I mean, my ego was struck. My confidence had dwindled down because the truth of the matter is that I wasn't ready. I didn't plan. I just kind of took on this task and flew by the seat of my pants, not being ready, not having certain things lined up, not, having all my ducks in a row, and just thinking through the simplest thing, just thinking through the process. It was a very humbling experience. And trust me, those words ring in my head every day. Yeah, piss poor planning leads to piss poor results. I couldn't believe that I had to sit there and swallow my pride and take it on the chin and take that one. But what I will say is that it taught me to be prepared and be ready. Now, that was on the heels of me going to an event before I met my wife, shooting this event and not being prepared. Then in a personal situation where we're setting up something where certain things had to be arranged and I didn't have it all thought through. And I had to have a plan. And I had to have my woman tell me that piss poor planning leads to piss poor results. So my wife is already like super sharp with the tongue, real quick with the wit. She know how to get it out and can hurt your feelings. But sometimes as a man, you got to really check your own ego. A lot of times it's not really about how things are said to you. It's who's saying it to you that can cause it more impact on you. And, life has a tendency to humbling you a lot so that way you can really take the lesson. If you're wise enough, you'll take the lesson and you'll really learn and grow from that. Or you can let it tear you down and become something major, because that could have turned into an explosive argument. Imagine having to feel that as a man and your ego, which is what we have as men, is so strong, and that ego just hits you and you got your girl telling you this. I mean, that shit was huge for me. So how do you build your own toolbox? So you say, yo, P, I need to understand. I hear you, what you're saying, but I need to understand, how do I build my toolbox? Well, let me give you some ways of thinking about this. One thing I would say, you got to identify your weak spots. Find out where your weak spots are. You only know what your weak spots are is by experiencing life. I always tell my kids that in order to live a good life, you have to experience a lot. And, having a lot of experiences cause you to, understand what life is all about. To me, life is a collection of experiences. You can't really live your fullest life unless you're experiencing things that you haven't experienced before. And through those experiences, we learn whether we like it or not, or whether it's just something that we don't want to do again. And if we want to do it again, what could we do the next time to make it better? The same rules apply even when you're doing photography. As you're going through this thing and you're learning this craft and you're understanding the challenges that come with it, you also got to pay attention to the experiences that you have, whether you're shooting a wedding, whether you're shooting an event, whether you're shooting a commercial assignment, whether you're on set, whatever situation you're in. I always watch out for those moments where I wasn't prepared or wasn't ready or didn't have that thing, and I add that to my toolbox. The next thing I'm going to say is double down on learn from your experiences. The first was identify your weak spots. But how do you identify your weak spots if you don't learn from your experiences? To not take on the fear of wondering what's going to happen if I don't do it. How do I get past this moment? Most times you're not going to know and you're not going to have the answers, but you got to go through it. You got to go through it to grow through it. So I encourage you to take on life as a way of being able to be resilient. Take on life to be able to learn from it. It's not all hardcore. Life is about, good times and bad times. And we got to really learn how to grow from those experiences. And the last thing I'm going to say with that, in terms of how you build your toolbox, is to always be adaptable. New challenges means new tools. Never stop learning, because you're always growing. No matter how old you are, I think that once you say that I don't want to learn this, or you stop growing. Living life is all about growing, improving, and adjusting your approach. What worked for you the first time may not work for you the second time, or what didn't work for you the first time, you got to figure out, how do I go back at this again? Because accepting failure and not going back at it again doesn't set you up for success. So those are 3 quick ways I would say to think about as you think about building your toolbox, whether that be as a photographer, a husband, a father, or just a human being in life. We got so many challenges thrown through us, and we got to learn how to put ourselves in difficult situations and grow through those situations. I'm not one of the guys who chase new cameras, but what I will do is that any of those little connector pieces or grip pieces that I need to enhance certain situations, to modify my situation or to make things easier, when I find that I'm on set and I need something, you best believe I'm going to Amazon or anywhere else that I can find and add that to my toolbox, because I never know when I'm gonna need that thing again. So I'm gonna say this to you, is that as you're thinking about this and as you're growing through your journey, always be willing to find out what do you need to add to your toolbox to make yourself successful for the next one. Because I guarantee that as long as you live, you're gonna be in a situation where you wish you had that item again and you don't want to get caught slipping. So, best thing to do is learn from your mistakes and keep it going. And you may not even get it the first time. So you'll say to yourself, I need to add this, and you'll be in that situation again and you'll see that, oh, I didn't add it, I need to add this again. Those are moments in which you really got to pay attention to what's happening in your life, what's happening into your world, and being adaptable so that way you can make sure that you are ready for the next time, because you can't keep falling for the same trick over and over and over again. So at some point, you got to stop, hold yourself accountable, and say, I need to do this the right way. So here's a question for you. What's in your toolbox? What's one lesson, skill, or habit that's helped you be more prepared in your life or work? Drop it in the comment section. I want to hear your story. In fact, anybody that's going in the comments, they want to hear your story, because we can all learn from each other and grow from each other. So do me a favor and do that for me. If these stories and this message resonate with you, my ask is that you like and subscribe to my channel. I got more to come, more stories to tell, more experiences from my journeys as a husband, a father, and a photographer. And that's the way, building this community, we all learn and we all grow from these moments. So I'm gonna use my stories to help you grow and develop. And that's what I'm here for. It's your boy signing out. I'm Parrish Lewis. Thank you for visiting my channel and watching this episode. Peace.